Hey everyone, it's JT. So hang on a second here, trying to, there we go. Give me 2 seconds, just trying to make sure that everything is live. Sound check 1, 2. Can all my YouTubers hear me okay? Can you throw a heck yeah in the chat? And just making sure that you can all hear me on LinkedIn as well. So make sure for my LinkedIn folks that you can hear me. So I'm just gonna take a second to make sure it's all good. Looks like my YouTubers are good to go. Just not sure about all my LinkedIn folks. So we'll just give a quick second there. It was giving me a hard time. I hope it's working. Let's make sure it's working. All right. Sounds like it's working. I'm going to go with, yeah, it's working. Hey, everyone. Happy middle of July. Can you believe it? July is halfway over. What the heck is going on? Time is flying, 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 flying. It's been a very busy summer. I hope that you're all doing really well. I haven't been streaming. I took a little vacation with my family. We did some hiking and got some fresh air, and it was really phenomenal. So I'm sorry that I haven't been here with all of you, but I'm really glad to be here now. I hope all of you are enjoying your summer wherever you are in the world. And very excited today because now I'm back in the game, heads back in the game. I can't even remember that I took a vacation because it's literally been 14-hour days for the last 2 days. So what vacation, right? This is when you go, should I have taken that vacation? Because dang, I got a lot of work to do now. But I'm very happy to be back here with all of you. And just wanted to announce that going forward, I'm going to be streaming live at 12 noon Eastern Standard Time, high noon Eastern Standard Time on Wednesdays. So this is my new time slot for JT Talks Jobs, and I'm very excited about that. So welcome to JT Talks Jobs. Let me try that again. I can't speak today. Let's try it again. Welcome, everyone, back to JT Talks Jobs. This is the show that does what? It teaches you everything that school didn't about job search and career growth. You know, job search is a skill. It's not something that we're taught. And now you know. And the good news is it's not rocket science. It's not brain surgery. You can do this if you have the right information. My new favorite phrase comes from a guy named Jim Quick. He wrote a book called Limitless. It's an awesome book. And in it, he talks about competence develops confidence. And I thought to myself, literally, that is what I am all about. This is why I do this show, because I know that if I can make people more competent, if I can give them the information they need to be more competent, they will get their confidence. They will go out, they will try things, and they will get results, and they will be happier. So that's the point of this show. If you like this show, then I hope you will come back each and every week and hang out with all of us so that you can become more competent in your skills so that you can have more confidence. Does that sound good? And with that in mind, it brings to a very timely topic today. We are going to be talking about job search myths during a recession, during a pandemic, during a crisis, whatever you want to call this thing. There are 6 job search myths that people tend to believe, and I am here to break those myths down for you, and hopefully in the process, give you a little inspiration so that you can move forward. So very excited to be working on that today. Before I move forward though, just a friendly reminder, we are the #1 place for free resources in the pandemic, in the crisis, in the recession. We're all about that. And I know that my team is sharing those resources with you. We've got 2 hot items to share with you today. First of all is the 8 ways you can be shut out of the hiring process during a recession. You need to know those, very timely. And the second is a job search checklist. So if you're looking for work, thinking about looking for work, even if you're not, you should be having a job search checklist because every job is temporary and you don't know when you're going to need to put your job search in high gear. So a couple of cool free resources that we're giving out today as part of our viewership. So thank you for watching and be sure to grab those, okay? All right, let's get down to the business of talking about this because this is a really, really important topic. So as I mentioned to you, and I've been harping on all of you, my regulars, you know, job search is a skill they didn't teach you in school, but that's no excuse now, especially right now, folks. It can be very easy to look at what's going on in the world and feel overwhelmed. I get it. We're all overwhelmed. We're all being impacted in multiple ways. But you can learn what you need to learn in order to look for work and land a job. And as you're going to hear about today, there are jobs out there. So this is not an excuse. This is not a time to say, you know, I can't learn that right now. Now is the time for you to do this. And trust me, you're going to be much happier later when you figure this out. You're going to be a lot harder on yourself if you don't take the time to build up your job search skills right now. And as I mentioned, my new favorite phrase, competence develops confidence. Cannot say this enough. You all should make this your mantra. You should all remind yourselves that if you're learning and growing every day, if you're becoming more competent, you will win. It's why I had us name the company Work It Daily, right? It's a very important step in the process. A lot of you probably don't know this, but I wrote a book, and in it, I outlined my method for career success. And the 4 steps are called the GLOW method. And here they are: gain perspective, illuminate the goal, own your actions, and work it daily. And the company's named the last step because out of all 4 of these things, the easiest one to do is the last one. But it is the one that people do the least. And this is why they don't achieve as much as they'd like to in their careers. Really, you could apply the GLOW method to life in general, anything you're trying to do. But in this case, we're talking career success. So gaining perspective is one of the attributes we're going to focus on today, because these myths, these assumptions, these misassumptions that people make during a crisis are what's holding them back. So if I can give you some new perspective today, then it can open up your mind. You can identify a goal, you can go after it, you can own your actions, and you can work it daily, and you can get results, because this is it. Every single person I have ever worked with that has achieved their goal has followed a framework like this. Every single one. And you can too. But it starts with gaining perspective. So that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to gain some new perspective by debunking these job search myths. And there's 6 of them. And I guarantee you that all of you listening today probably have believed wrongly 1 or more of them. So I'm going to hold you accountable. I'm going to hold you honest. I want you to sit there as I go through them and be like, yeah, I thought that. Yeah, I thought that. You got to really own it. All right. So let's do that. Let's get right into myth number 1. There's no point in looking for a job right now because nobody's hiring. I have heard this a lot on various social media channels. People have said to me, there's no jobs. That's not true. That is absolutely not true. First of all, just go over to the job boards. You will see jobs posted there. Are there a lot fewer jobs? Yes, but that doesn't mean there's more jobs out there. The reality is we've created the hidden job market, and the hidden job market comes around every time there's a crisis and a recession. So what happens is employers don't want to publicly post their jobs on job boards, especially not on multiple job boards. And that's because they are afraid of getting thousands and thousands of applicants. Already, it's hard enough for them to respond. I mean, how many people here, raise a hand, even though I can't see you, raise a hand if you've applied to a job, multiple jobs, and never heard back. And it's because these companies aren't built to be able to respond to everybody who applies. Now imagine posting it and getting tens of thousands of applications for one single job. It just doesn't make sense. So these companies have to hide their jobs. Can you believe that? Hide their jobs. So what they do is they only post them on their company careers pages, because they figure if you really want to work for them, you are following them and you are checking that proactively. And then what they do is they tell their internal staff and they say, hey, do you know anybody that has this skill set? We do have this job posting. So this is why you hear us always talking about networking and why it becomes so important, especially in times like these, the hidden job market. So there are jobs out there, and I'm going to talk more about why there are jobs out there, because people say, JT, it's not possible, but there is. And that's where we're going to break down some more myths. Okay. All right. So folks, there are jobs and they're hidden and you can find them. Myth number 2, the places I want to work are laying people off, so they won't hire me. Also untrue, very untrue. And this is something people don't realize. They go, well, if a company's laying off thousands of people, they're not hiring right now. That's wrong. Lots of companies are laying people off because they're changing their business strategy, because they had so many of the same type of people that they didn't need them all. But they can be a totally different department in the company that needs hiring. Or the company can be deciding that it's going to go in a new direction in order to get new sales and build up a new market. And the people that they laid off didn't have the right skill sets, and now they need new skill sets. This is happening right now. Right now, as all these companies here in the US and in the world are restructuring, yes, lots of them are laying off, but there are also jobs being created. And I know that blows people's minds. And you think, well, why wouldn't they redeploy their current employees? They do, some do, and some don't. Some just say, nope, we're going to let them go and we're going to go find the people that have the skills that we need. Is it right? Doesn't matter. It's a business decision. It's how it works. So every single day in Work It Daily, somebody's telling me they got hired. And I know you go, that's not possible. There's a pandemic. They're getting hired, and they're getting hired by companies that restructured. The restructuring's over. Now they know what they need for talent, and now they're hiring for that. So if you have companies that were on your bucket list of employers that you wanted to work for and they were laying off, don't stop looking at their job boards. You need to keep going back. Good news is everybody else is. Everybody else is assuming they're not hiring. So this is how you can stand out. So it's a good thing you showed up today, because now you know that little secret. All right, let's talk about the third myth. So many people have been laid off. Employers won't hold it against me that I didn't look for work. This is a big one, folks. And I'm really going to start to get on people's cases about this now. Lots of people lost their jobs. Lots of people were furloughed. So furloughed meant, hey, we're going to bring you back when this pandemic thing gets under control. So I get it. You might be sitting around going, well, I'm going to get my job back. Well, this week, it's all over the news, the second job apocalypse. What the second job apocalypse is all these companies that furloughed over this time have been trying to figure out their business models. And now that they've figured them out, they're sending out the pink slip saying you're actually not going to get your job back. There's also been lots of companies that got the PPP, the Payroll Protection Program. And as part of that stipulation, they had to keep those people employed on the payroll. But now that's gone. That money's run out. There's no more PPP. And they figured out their business model and they can't sustain it. Employees are the biggest expense a company has. So that's where they're going to cut in order to keep the business in business. So this is a big deal, all right? Now, if you sat around and you didn't do anything to look for work, to build your skills, to have a side hustle, when it comes time to go to look for a job and you get an interview, HR and recruiting are going to say to you, well, what did you do in the pandemic? And if you don't have a good answer, if you say, well, I just kind of waited around to see what happened, or, I collected unemployment because I thought I was going to get my job back. And then, eventually I didn't get my job back. And so now I'm starting to look. Think about how that sounds. Here's the reality, and people hate to hear this, but hiring managers, HR, recruiters, they prefer to hire people who are currently employed. Because if you're currently employed, especially in a pandemic, then you're in high demand. And that's an awful thing to hear if you don't have a job right now. I get it. But when it comes time for you to interview and they say, what have you been doing? You need to say, I was looking for work all this time. I was targeting for the industry. I did some certifications online. I grabbed a part-time job. I started, my side hustle making jewelry. They need to hear that you were self-motivated to figure out how you are going to get your career back on track. And they're going to understand maybe a couple months where you couldn't do anything. But after a couple of months, if you just sat back, they're not going to buy it. They're not going to trust it. And that is a truth. That is a hard truth. And I know that scares people to hear right now, but I would rather you hear it from me and know that we can do something about this, which is starting today, you figure out your job search strategy. How are you going to get back to meaningful and satisfying work? You need to start, because that is the message to employers when they ask you that question. Okay, folks? Very, very important one. All right, number 4. I shouldn't switch jobs right now. I should just stay put. If you currently have a job right now and it's going well, you might think, I'm just going to keep my head down. I'm not going to apply any places. And then once this thing starts to get better, then I can look for a job. I wouldn't. If you're unhappy where you are and your company isn't 100% stable, I would be looking for another job. Because if a place is actively hiring for a position, then you know they need it. So if you aren't happy right now, this is not a reason to stay unhappy. Your employer is going to know that you're unhappy, and that doesn't help you. You should be actively looking for your next gig, looking for that place where they're hiring for your skill set. That's equally important. You don't want to wait. Plus, job search takes a while. It's not like you're going to start a job search and you're going to find a job tomorrow. You might get that lucky, but probably not. So you need to get that job search in motion to see your options. And here's another nice thing. If you go out and you start looking for work and you interview at some places, what you might find out is, oh my gosh, I have it way better than I thought I did at my current employer. You could very easily fall back in love with your employer again. just by going out and doing some interviewing. So this is why you should be looking for work, because no matter what, you're going to end up happier, whether it's staying where you are because you realize it's a great place to be after all, or finding that next better opportunity. Okay. All right. Myth number 5. Now is a horrible time to try to change career paths. Actually not. It isn't. If you've always wanted to do something new and different, this is a level set moment. If you're willing to sacrifice, change up your hours, maybe change up your pay structure, but it's going to put you into a job that you've always wanted to try, what do you have to lose? Again, if they're willing to hire you, why wouldn't you do it? Life is too short. If we're figuring anything out in this pandemic, is that life is too short for us not to go after these things. I'm not saying just to up and quit your current job. You need to be strategic, job search checklist, right? Job search plan. But why wouldn't you see if you can change careers and get into that new industry or that new space? Again, if they're hiring for that skill set, it means they need you. And if you can get that job, you should do it. So don't sit back. Don't put your happiness on pause right now. Get out there, do your due diligence, figure out, network. Wonderful time to network with people in the industry or the skill set you want to get into. This is the opportunity to figure it out. All right. And myth number 6, now is the time to go back and get a master's or an MBA. That way I'll be worth more when the economy bounces back. Oh, if this is the one myth I can make sure that people don't follow. People are going to be seduced by the idea of, well, if I go back to school, it shows that I was learning and I was growing, and then the economy is going to bounce back and they're going to need me to have that MBA or that master's. Absolutely not, folks. We have already way too many people out there that are overeducated but underqualified for work. Now more than ever, the whole secondary education system is disrupting. Way too many people have MBAs and masters. They don't mean as much anymore. And it doesn't replace practical work experience. And now is not a good time to rack up major debt for one of these degrees. So please don't think, a lot of people do that because, and I've had people say to me, but I love school. I love being in school, JT. So I'm just going to go back to school. Well, it's fine if you love school. Just understand that when you graduate, you're still going to have to work. You cannot be paid to be in school forever. And you're going to be overqualified. You're going to be overeducated and underqualified skill-wise. So you're still going to end up with that same job that you would have gotten with your bachelor's. Is that going to make you happy? Or then are you going to be happy with the education? More importantly, why wouldn't you focus on finding a career that makes you feel satisfied so you don't have to distract yourself with education? There's got to be a way to figure this out, and you can't ignore it. You can't use education as a way to ignore it. So I do not advise that people do this right now. Strongly encourage you not to. Okay? All right. I'm sure there are more myths, but these are the 6 that I've been hearing nonstop during the crisis, and they're the ones that I wanted to debunk the most with all of you. So I'm getting ready. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of pushback in the Q&A today. But here's what I'm going to demand from all of you. You know the truth now. These are the 6 myths. You know the truth now. What are you going to do about it? What are you going to do? Because you have to do something right now, folks. I cannot stress it enough. Lots of people sitting in job search and career limbo. Enough. All the businesses are saying enough and starting to restructure and figuring things out and moving forward. Same for you. This is a new reality. Enough. It's time for you to figure it out because you can do it. And why not? Getting results is going to make you happier. I want you to be happier. So you've got to get out there. You've got to hustle. You've got to start making things happen for yourself. You got to figure out your new reality. All right. With that in mind, here's my invitation to you. If you want help with the GLOW method, gaining perspective, illuminating the goal, owning your actions, working it daily, if you would like coaches to support you so you don't feel lonely, coaches to talk to when you feel depressed or frustrated, if you want to be around a community of really awesome people, we call them players because they all looking to play the game and up their game and get better in their career. If you want to be surrounded by that, which they tell you that you are the product of the people you spend the most time with. So it's time to surround yourself with career-minded people. And if you want to get the best content out there, the stuff that's really well organized, people always say, why would I join? You have all this free information all over the internet, JT. You've got, hundreds and thousands of hours on YouTube and social media. Yes, but you don't have the content inside the platform. That stuff is there for a reason. We have the structured tools that you need, the step-by-step content in the right amount of information, in the right format for you to really be hyper productive in a way that you can't possibly do out there on your own. So if you're ready for that, if you're ready for a partner, you need to come join us. Okay. And we have a 3-day free trial going on right now. We decided during the pandemic that people needed to really see what we are about. So we've turned on a 3-day free trial. We will not leave that on forever, but we're leaving it on right now because we know people need it. Again, we're all about showing people the value. So go over there because it's cheaper than a gym membership and it's worth thousands of dollars to you in the sense that you're going to get a new and better job and be supported. Okay. We'll help you bust through these myths. We'll do it together. Awesome. All right. I hope to see you over there. But now it's time to take some questions. So let me jump over to the questions section and see what we've got here. All righty. So I'm going to come full screen and hang out with you all. And I am going to go over and see what we've got. So question number 1 is from Nancy over on YouTube. I read that ATS can't interpret PDFs. So should you submit a Word instead? That depends on the ATS. This is why we can't stand ATS, Nancy. Some organizations have ATSs that can only accept Word documents. Some can do either. Usually, if they're using an old school ATS that only accepts Word, they will tell you that in the application. They will say, please attach a Word document. If they do not specify that it's a Word document, then it is totally appropriate and encouraged that you send a PDF so that it saves the formatting. Okay? All right, Tom asks on YouTube, myth number 2, does it help or hurt to show up at a place of business dressed and ready to submit a resume or try to meet the hiring manager without an appointment? I would not encourage doing that right now. In the time of COVID-19, we're not really running out to meet strangers in that fashion. So it is not the ideal thing to do. It is much better for you to get introduced via email or via LinkedIn to somebody. That way you can work those channels. But yeah, that's not something that I would advise you to do right now. Question from Diane on YouTube. Why, if companies are hiring, are you referred in by an employee and no one contacts you? It's happened about 5 times already. Because so many people have probably referred in, Diane. This is what I mean. There are hidden jobs, but everybody's referring their friends and family because they want them to get employed or their colleagues, right? So my advice to you is whenever you have somebody that's willing to submit you, refer you, first of all, thank them profusely. And then secondly, say, look, I want to be proactive and own this process. I want to follow up with the person myself in 1 business week. Would you be comfortable giving me their email address so that I can, in fact, follow up with them? Would you be okay with that? If somebody legitimately has no problems recommending you and is really, truly passing you along, they will give you that person's email address. If your contact is actually lying to you, and this happens, folks, people say, yeah, I'll pass your stuff along, and then they don't, they will not be comfortable giving you that email address. And that's the truth. So you always should be saying, you are so kind, and I don't want to bother you anymore. Would you be comfortable with giving me the email address so I will wait 1 business week and follow up with them to see if there's anything else I can do to further my candidacy? That's what you need to do. It's also good to ask for their name and contact information, because what you can do is send a customized connection request to them on LinkedIn and say, hey, I know that my friend Jim referred me to the XYZ position. I wanted to connect and introduce myself. I'd love to learn what you're looking for in a candidate. So you could work that angle too. So you got to do a lot more than just letting somebody refer you. Okay. You've got to take control and be proactive. It's your job. You want to get paid thousands of dollars. You got to do it. Awesome. Brian over on LinkedIn says, what do you think about the new LinkedIn frame around your profile picture, the open to work? I am not forming any opinions on that yet, Brian. I am not recommending it or not recommending it. The reason for that is here's what we know. Prior to this, in a job market where there was very low unemployment, we knew that hiring was discrimination and that if you didn't have a job, a lot of recruiters would skip right over you because they thought if you couldn't get a job in such low unemployment, you didn't want a job or there was something wrong with you. Brutally honest, folks. Terrible, but true. In this pandemic where there are so many people unemployed, you would think that would shift. You would think that recruiters would say, wow, it's a buyer's market. There's lots of choice. Let me reach out to all these people that don't have jobs. But I'm still not 100% sure that's the case. I still feel like, and it's terrible, but I think in the back of the minds of a lot of hiring people, they want to hire somebody who's currently employed because they're like, if you're employed in the pandemic, you must be really good. And it's awful, folks. It's an awful thing. Please don't shoot the messenger. I don't endorse it. I don't support it, but it is a potential reality. So I want to hope that there are a lot of really awesome recruiters out there, and there are, who would specifically go look for people who have the green circle on LinkedIn. I'm just not convinced that they all will. And so I don't have an answer for you on that. I cannot support it and I can't deny it. All I can tell you is you can try it. And if you don't feel like you're getting any results, then you turn it off. But just got no good advice for you there right now. Okay? I wish I did. James over on YouTube is asking, given the huge number of those that are out of work, are companies going to be as hard if you are out 6 months or a year? Oh, that's a great question. So what James is asking is, normally people knew that it takes about 6 months, maybe 9 months, depending on the complexity of your job, to get a job. And a lot of you are surprised to hear that. So in a good economy, it usually takes people an average of 6 to 9 months to find a job. Now, the reason it takes them that long is most people, again, as I've said, aren't taught job search, and they spend the first 4 months not looking correctly. And then they get desperate and they come seek resources like ours, and then they realize they weren't looking correctly. So if you from the get-go conduct a really smart, succinct job search, you should be able to find something in 2 to 4 months. Now, the question James asked is, but all these people are unemployed. Are they going to hold it against you when you've been out of work 6 months or a year? I definitely don't think 6 months. I think the fact that you take that first 3 months, March, April, May, even June, right, of COVID, no. And I think they're to know about your industry and your skill set to know what's going on. But I think anybody that didn't start actively looking for work after the 3-month mark, it's going to be frowned upon. So when you've been out of work a year and it's because of COVID-19, you're going to need to be able to say and own it. Hey, the first 3 months, I thought I was going to be brought back. And the 4th month, I started looking. And this is when I started targeting these companies, these types of opportunities. This is what I experienced. This is what I did. I mean, you're really going to have to talk through your hustle so that they understand that. It's going to take 18 to 24 months for things to really bounce back. Because what's going to happen is right now, the restructuring will take 6 months. So we're going to keep seeing layoffs all the way through the fall. July, August, September, October, November, December, literally through the end of the year. All right. But by then, most of the shakedown will have occurred. And a lot of new companies will start coming out of this. This is another thing. Lots of new businesses start as a result of crises. Some of the biggest businesses start as a result of crises in history. So this is all going to level out, and then we're going to start to see hiring again. And meanwhile, there'll still be hiring going on, right? You're just going to only see negative numbers because you're going to keep seeing these layoffs, and you're not going to realize, but there's lots of other jobs being created, right? The numbers are never really as they portray them on TV, you know? So think about that. So my advice to you is be looking, be aggressive, and do what it takes to get a job. Because once you get hired back again, even if it's at a lower pay rate, you become more attractive to be hired for those higher pay rate jobs. That's what you have to do right now. And if it takes a year, at least be able to explain what you did after the first 3 months of COVID-19. Okay? That's what you all have to focus on right now and really get in the game. Awesome. All right, question from Steve. Can you provide one piece of advice on how to impress and get past the initial HR phone screen so I'm recommended to the hiring manager? I can, Steve, actually. That's a really great question. So if you've spent any time listening to this show, you know I talk about the fact that there are different types of buyers of your services. You're a business of one, you're a service provider, and you're trying to sell your services to the employer. And there are several different buyers in the process that make the decision whether or not you should move forward. So HR and recruiters are what we call technical buyers. Now, they can't get you the job. They can't, right? Because the hiring manager has to choose you, but they can screen you out. And that's what that phone screen is for. So in that phone screen, they are assessing 3 things: your personality, because they have to make sure that you would get along with everybody in the office; your aptitude, do you sound like somebody that could adapt to their environment, which is, you know, related in some way to personality; and your actual experience, do you meet the criteria? So one of the things I always suggest our clients do is when you see a job description and you know you're going to be interviewed, go to the job description and pull out every key skill set they say that you need to have and put it in a table, like create a document and create a table with 2 columns. And every single thing they say that you need is its own cell in the first column, okay? And then I want you to sit down and ask yourself, how can I prove to this hiring manager, this recruiter, this HR person that I have each and every one of these things? What example from my professional past could I share that would quantifiably prove I have that experience? Right? So how many years of experience do you have doing this? How many of these projects have you done? How many people have you managed? Whatever they ask for, you need to summarize that. And then you've got that table in front of you during the interview, because they're going to be asking you questions about your experience. And this is how you're going to be able to prove it. You're going to be able to pull it right off the page and be able to share that. And it's really nice, because now you're just sharing facts. You're not bragging. You're actually stating, here's how I can validate for you that I have that experience. And it's also going to help you keep the conversation on track, because a lot of times people get all over the place. And interview prep is one of the biggest things we do inside Work It Daily. And we really hammer our members on this, because if you don't spend time writing out your answers and really thinking through how you're going to be succinct in your responses, you're going to sound all over the place and you will miss out. And people say, oh, it's not fair, I just don't interview well. Job search is a skill, folks. No more excuses. You need to know how to interview. You need to know how to answer questions succinctly. So practice makes perfect, right? Competence creates confidence. What do I keep saying? See, perfect example there. Awesome. Cheryl is asking over on YouTube, networking is the key to the hidden job market. What's the best approach, best way to approach your LinkedIn connection who you haven't spoken to in a while to ask for an introduction to one of his connections? Okay, so this is asking for the connection to a connection. So very important that you're transparent here, because think about it right now. Everybody knows what's going on, okay? So imagine, Cheryl, you go to your friend and you're like, hey, what's up? Haven't talked to you forever. What's up? They know you want something. In this market, they know that. So I suggest you be really transparent, Cheryl. And you reach out and you say, hey, Jim, I know it's been a while since we've spoken, and I hope you don't mind me reaching out. Here's my situation. I was impacted by COVID-19. I have put together a bucket list of employers that I would really love to work for, because I am going to hustle to get myself a job. One of the companies is ABC Corp. When I was doing more research on ABC Corp, I see that you know married Frank. Would you be willing to introduce me to Mary? Here's why I love the company. Here's why I'm passionate about what they do. I understand if you're not comfortable doing so, but if you were, I'd be so incredibly grateful, because I would love to learn from Mary what she thinks it takes to stand out in the hiring process. And that's it. So just be honest, be transparent, be polite, and give the person the out. That's all you can do. And just say, I'd be so grateful if you would be able to help me with this one thing. And I love using the word one, because what that does mentally to the person that receives it is say, oh, they're only asking for one thing and I can do that. I can be successful. When we send an email off and we're too vague in what we're asking, people feel overwhelmed, right? Like if you say, even though you know that Jim knows Mary Frank, and you're trying to be casual, you don't want to say, hey, Jim, do you know anybody over at XYZ? You've now asked Jim to go research and figure out who he knows at XYZ. You need to make it as easy as possible for these people so that they want to support you. They want to help you, okay? And you can do it. Just be transparent. All right, KB over on YouTube says, what's the best way to write an ATS-friendly resume? Secondly, would you drop a resume, hard copy off in person to the person I'm interested in working with? Okay, so first of all, I'm going to give it to you straight, folks. Stop trying to game the ATS. I'm so glad you asked this question, KB, because it frustrates the heck out of me. Every ATS system is different, every single one. So you can't build one master resume to be ATS friendly. And on top of that, folks, most people that try to game it, once their resume gets seen by the human being, they don't move forward. It's a waste of your time, especially right now. If there is a job posted online, thousands of people are applying to it. And a lot of them don't even match the skill sets. The statistical chances that you will get called is slim because of what's happening. So it's not worth your time. What you need is a well-written resume for a human being. You need a white space, clearly formatted resume, all right? And we have a resume tutorial on that, so go over and grab that over at Work It Daily. But I cannot stress it enough. Stop worrying about the ATS, okay? Stop putting it through ATS-friendly free tools online where they try to charge you $300 to have your resume redone. Just stop. Trust me. You need a good visual resume in a PDF. And then you need to build up your strategy. So in this case, if you know who the hiring manager is, I don't suggest you go stop by. I do suggest you mail it to them. I do suggest you ask them to connect on LinkedIn and send it to them when they accept the connection request. I do suggest you find 5 or 10 people that maybe know this person and ask for an introduction. Work the other angles to get in front of this person. That is a far more successful strategy than applying on ATS. Let me be clear, folks, and I know I sound overly passionate about this, but it's because my heart aches every day when I hear people tell me they've applied to 100 jobs and they haven't heard back. And I have to be the one to tell them, nobody saw your applications. All that time was a complete waste. And even worse, if you put stuff into the ATS system and it's wrong, did you know that you can be put in the don't ever call list? Did you know that they can make a decision that you don't ever fit the company and go in a permanent no pile? It's not the ideal situation. Now, some companies, even when you reach out to them, will say, well, I need you to apply on the ATS. And that's fine. When they tell you to apply on the ATS, apply on the ATS. But you still have to work the other channels to get noticed. And I know people don't like that because they say, oh, JT, that takes work. You want to get paid thousands of dollars for a job. Do the work. Do the job search. Applying online is, a lack of a better word, lazy. And I none of you are lazy. You just don't know any better. You think that's looking for work and it's not. Okay? So stop trying to game the ATS because you're going to fix your resume for one ATS and it's going to toss you from another and it's just not going to work. I promise you. Networking, a bucket list of employers, a strategy for job search, a strategy for LinkedIn, a strategy for a visual resume. These are the things that will get you hired. This is good business practices for your business of one. And I'm just so passionate about it because every single day I see it work inside Work It Daily. Every day people are like, oh my gosh, I don't know why I waited so long to join. Now I get it. So if I can get that through to you all somehow, then I've done my job here today. Okay. So let's see. Surakasha. I hope I'm saying that correctly. Pretty name. If I'm looking for a career change, but I figured it out very recently and have a lot of skills to develop for the new industry, what is my answer supposed to be as to why? So I was so late in figuring this out. You're never too late to figure out you want to do something. You're never too late. You should be celebrating that. Flip that around, my friend. Flip that around. I am so excited that after all these years, I've put the dots together and I know what I want to go into. I am so enthusiastic, and here's all the reasons why I want to go into it. That is something that people find attractive in the hiring world. Doesn't matter. You're not too late. You figured it out. You woke up today and you realized it. Awesome. Use that energy, that happiness, and go for it. Okay? I love that question. Hey, Maria. I understand that things are more difficult if you have stayed many times without working, but what can we do if we're not able to get hired? Oh, that's a really good question. So Maria, I would suggest you do some volunteer work. I would see if you can go find a company that would be willing to let you volunteer. You can find some companies and say, I'm looking to build up my skills in this area. I would like to do this assignment for you. I'd like to do a project for you pro bono, meaning for free. And it's only going to take me 10 hours to do. But if you like what I did, I would hope that you would give me a recommendation. And people say, well, why would I waste time doing a project and not getting paid? Because you need the experience, because you need the recommendation, because you need your skills to stay fresh, and because you have the time. And that's why you do it, folks. Put that aside. Do some pro bono project work. Volunteer your time. And that's also going to get you networking, people seeing you and what you're like to work with. It's going to help on a lot of levels. So you got to do it. I know it's hard to hear, but right now, these are the times where you've got to do some volunteer work, do some pro bono work in order to build your network and build your reputation. Let's see. Patrick is asking, how fast is the hiring environment changing and what are the big changes? So obviously the biggest changes is that almost all initial level hiring will be done via online. So companies are going to phone screen you. They're going to Zoom meet you. They're not going to waste time bringing you in person. So this is a new normal. You need to have yourself ready to be able to do this kind of interviewing. Very, very normal. Second thing that will change is that there'll be a lot of contract work. So in the beginning, you're going to see a lot of companies asking, do you want to become a contractor? And that's because they don't have specific budget for headcount, but maybe they have dollars in some of their other budgets that they can pull and use for contract hiring. So I would suggest everyone here research and find at least one really good staffing agency that staffs for your skill set. You really want to pick the top one or two. Please don't go register with every staffing agency in your area. They won't bother to present you if they know that you've registered everywhere. You need to be very selective and partner with a staffing company in order for them to pay attention to you. And again, they could be a great resource. We're going to see a massive amount of contract hiring over the next 6 to 18 months as this whole thing is turning itself around. And a lot of those jobs will turn into full-time jobs once the companies are given the budget again. So those are the biggest changes: virtual interviewing and contract hiring. Aaron on YouTube is asking, can you advise how we can approach hiring managers and recruiters via LinkedIn? Yes, I've actually done a whole series on that, Aaron. So be sure to go over to our YouTube channel. You'll see some videos there. We actually have an entire course inside Work It Daily called Make Recruiters Come to You, which teaches you how to do that. But the simple thing there is customization. You need to do your homework and you need to give them a really valid reason to connect with you. And it can't just be, hey, recruiter, I think your company is awesome, which I know you would never do, Aaron. That's why you're asking. Instead, it has to be, hey, recruiter, I was researching your company. I am so impressed with this and this. I would love to learn what you look for in a candidate. Is it possible for us to connect? Because I believe I have the skill sets that might be fit for some of your future opportunities, right? So you're basically making the case there, and there's some customization, but it changes from job to job and person to person. And the more customized you get, the better. Let's see. Kimberly is asking, what about the young professional who just got out of school and was planning to have having a job search period? Any advice? I'm volunteering, studying for a certification, tutoring, and networking. Good for you, Kimberly. First of all, way to hustle. I know you got thrown a curveball. I know that you're thinking, seriously, 4 years of school for this? But guess what, Kimberly? This is not going to last forever. It's not. 18 to 24 months is where we're at. And just reading all the things you're doing, you're a hustler. So look for work. There's jobs out there. There's absolutely jobs out there. There's going to be a lot of entry-level jobs once companies figure things out. So you keep doing what you're doing, and you absolutely keep job searching. You ramp that job search up, Kimberly, because you can get a job if you look and you hustle. Natalie says, any tips on how to stay on the radar for a potential employer that isn't open to doing remote work, but thinks you're a perfect fit for the role, just the wrong location? Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, you should be touching base with them about every 6 weeks. So every 6 weeks, I would circle back and I would find an article or a video, some piece of content that speaks to the work, that speaks to trends. Think of something that if you were an actual employee of the company, you would send that to your peers because you'd want to be a good coworker and share it with them and have a dialogue with it. Same thing. Just imagine they're your peers. And every 6 weeks, send this and say, hey, Kate, this came across my desk. I thought of you. I really thought this was interesting. Hope you're doing well, right? That's it. That's it. Just every 6 weeks and see if they respond back. That's in essence you building a relationship. And what's going to happen over time is that's a very polite way for you to stay on the radar screen so that when they finally go, this is silly, we should hire a remote worker. Let's go back and look at that candidate that we loved. She keeps staying in touch with us. She's so positive. She's so proactive. She'd be perfect. Because what are you teaching right now that you know how to stay in touch virtually, right? You just don't want to do it more than 6 weeks because that can feel like stalking. Awesome. Okay, Kristen on YouTube. Should we be networking with and applying to our dream companies on our interview bucket list while out of work, or wait until we've secured another job? No, absolutely. Kristen, network with those companies. Absolutely. They're on your bucket list. They need to see and hear your enthusiasm. You know, folks, I get that you don't want to act overly enthusiastic because you're fearful that you'll look desperate. There's a difference between desperate and genuine love for a company. Desperate is I'll take anything. Desperate is I'll do anything. Genuine enthusiasm is you are awesome for these 17 reasons. I admire your company because of the way it handles this, the customers, this or that. I believe in what you do. That is very different. That is not desperate. And that is what employers find attractive because jobs are hard. Jobs are work. You get paid to do a job. So if I know you have the deep internal motivation to do this work because you believe in us on multiple levels, that's not desperate. So please know the difference. And Kristen, go for it. Everyone, if you're figuring anything out from me right now, go for it. Stop waiting. Stop being fearful. Put your job search in gear. It is time, right? It is time. Fall in love with companies. Build your relationships with them. Go after it, right? Go after it. I can't stress that enough. All right. Listen, just want to remind you, 3 free day trial. Why are you waiting? Seriously, why are you waiting? You could log in today. You could work with the team on your resume, your LinkedIn profile, your cover letters, your interview prep, your entire job search strategy. What are you waiting for? What? Because you're not worth it? You're not worth investing in yourself because you're afraid of not spending the money? Well, what if spending this money is literally what gets you the job, right? Think strategically here, folks. Join the #1 career growth platform. We're #1 for a reason, and we want you to be part of our family. You're already here watching this, so I already know that you're a keeper. I already know that we want you on our team, all right? Get in there and try it for free. Secondly, still not convinced. There's not any more I can do on that. So go grab our free resources, okay? That's why we put them out there, because we love you all and we want to support you and we want to help you, right? We're going to teach you to work it daily. We're going to teach you to empower yourself. We're going to teach you what they didn't teach you in school, okay? All right. And then lastly, I just want to say thank you. Thank you so much for showing up. Pat yourselves on the back. You showed up today. Hopefully you took away 1 or 2 good things. You invested in yourself today by putting your time into healthy social media, by the way, right? Because we can all waste a lot of time on social media, myself included, but you took the time to make a healthy choice today in good social media. So pat yourself on the back, celebrate. Now go make it happen. All right. Awesome. Okay, I will see you all next Wednesday. We have an amazing session coming next Wednesday. We've got Stacy Lewis coming back. We're going to be talking about microaggressions and what you can do to understand them and make sure that you're not doing them. It's going to be a fabulous, fabulous show. So can't wait. I hope you sign up for that one. It's going to be very powerful, and I'm so honored to be bringing it to all of you, okay? All right, thank you, everyone. Take care. Have a wonderful rest of the week. And remember, if you want to win, you got to work it daily. So go make it happen. All right, ciao.